Good evening. Hello.
Good evening.
What's up, guys?
What's up?
How's
How
it
are
going?
Not bad, not bad. How about yourselves?
Not bad for a Friday. There's meant to be four of us. Maybe he will join us. He's meant to set his alarm clock. He promised me he would. He said he wanted to be on to share his Australian adventures. So watch his space. There may be four of us, but at the minute there's three. Greg, thanks ever so much for coming on, mate. I know you've got such a hectic schedule. Appreciate it.
Well, I mean, yeah, family's in town since it's a holiday. And
we're not disturbing your Thanksgiving arrangements, are we?
No, not at all. It's
all right.
The kids got up at 4 o'clock in the morning, went to the Nike store to go Black Friday shopping.
Yeah.
And now they're back home asleep.
Well, you guys invented Black Friday, and now us Brits are crazy about it as well. So
I know.
Only a lot of places don't even do it for one day anymore. Like I know one that's been doing it for the whole of November, Black November.
Yeah, there's so many. Everybody's trying to beat everybody by being earlier to the Black Friday parade.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and just for the record, I've never met Greg before. I obviously know of him from when I've been virtually working in America. And as soon as we met just then, we were just talking about the American scene straight away and like all the politics and what's going on. So it's people thought the British were bad, the Americans
different level.
Yeah, different level.
It's
all good.
Yeah, it is.
Is it Black Friday, Greg, or is it Cyber Monday? Which is the day that you think that people get the best bargain?
I think I would say Black Friday because it has extended into the Cyber Monday.
Yeah.
The Cyber Monday guys don't want to wait till Cyber Monday, so they do their Cyber Monday sales on Black Friday also, or a week before. It's just gotten ridiculous. Everybody's jumping the gun earlier and earlier in the year. So
yeah.
I remember when BRS used to do their sales, and they would do it. They'd start on Friday and Saturday and Sunday, and then they do also some on Monday. And they started last week. And then doing these events every day.
Do you think, Greg, that people in America hold back on their key electrical items like radians, things like that? Do you think they wait for the special offers for Black Friday? Or
I think when you get to it, meaning say you're in September and you're going to want electronics, you'll start thinking about waiting. You'll start thinking about waiting. The problem is with electronics is that when you buy them, like for instance, I got my Radeon G4s, and a month later, the G5s came out.
Not good.
Yeah.
Not good.
Yeah.
I then decided eventually, I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and get to the G5s because I liked the fact that they had way more spread.
Yeah.
And I got the G5s, and a month later, the G6 came out.
Oh dear.
It is what it is. It is what
iPhone
it is.
15, iPhone 16, iPhone.
Absolutely. So at some point you have to make that determination. Is it worth waiting or just go for it?
Yeah, exactly.
I still run G5s because I'm not. To me, it wasn't enough of a change to go G6.
And I think you're right. And it's just like with phones or TVs, with tech. At what point are you going to buy in? You have to buy in at some point,
right?
Otherwise you'll just never have the light that you wanted. You're just going to sit and wait. So,
do the Americans still fight outside Walmart like we all saw on Facebook?
No, we don't.
You don't do that anymore. You got rules.
I don't see it like that anymore. No,
right,
it's there's I guess it really depends on what the craze product is. If there's a product out there that everybody wants, I'm sure there's still going to be fights and stuff like that. But I mean, I've never heard, at least locally, I've never heard of any issues like that during Black Friday. So,
You ever camped outside a marine shop for anything?
do what?
Have you ever camped outside of a marine shop for anything?
Never,
No, okay.
never.
No sleeping bag now.
Yeah, I can't get myself to do something like that. I just can't. I'm one of the things. If there's one thing I am, it's patient, and I'll just wait. And I'm also one of those guys who, when buying corals, I will buy brown stuff.
Color it up.
Good for you.
Color it
Good
up.
for you.
Hey, divers don't pick brown corals.
Yeah.
And farmers definitely don't farm brown corals. So your maricultured stuff is all going to be really nice. They don't,
Of course.
They don't farm the ugly stuff.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. But the ugly stuff's still the interesting stuff as well. And it's all
Right.
about what you like. And, I think, you've said it and we've said it, don't follow the trends and the fashions. If you like a certain coral, just buy it. It's for you. It's not for anyone else. So should we
real quick in the chat, I see people talking about like the G4s are better than the G5s and stuff. I know there's a lot of people out there that love G4s. And if you really, really want some G4s, I have 6 of them that I will sell you. Give me $800 a piece for them since they're so great. Saying. All right.
Right, I'm going to jump in and say hello to everybody that's joined us this evening, Greg. So who have we got in the house tonight? We have got some of the regular. We've got John right in the house. Evening, John. Hope you're good, buddy. Happy Friday to you, mate. Gaz's Reef. Evening, all. Hope you're well, Gaz. Saying he's got man flu. Been off since Wednesday. Hope you're feeling better. East Coast Reefer. Evening, Steve. Hope you're good, mate. Evening. Techers. Evening, Techers. Liam, Gills Aquarium, happy Thanksgiving, y'all. Hope we're well. Norfolk Reefer, evening. Hope you're good, buddy.
Good evening.
Good evening. Gloria Diaz, good
What's
day,
up,
everyone.
Gloria?
Saying hello from New York City.
Oh, hi.
Oh, some support.
Yes,
cool.
Yes.
Represent.
Very cool. Represent.
Got some US support on this stream.
Thanks, Gloria. Thanks for joining and tuning in. Lee, evening to you. Hope you're well, mate. Hope you're having a good Friday so far, mate. UK 120, some regulars again in the house. UK 120, evening to you. Thanks for joining us. Dave Emer, hope you're good. One and only Ron, hope you're well, mate. Thanks for supporting. Woody's Reef, evening, Woody's Reef.
Hey, Woody. It's my friend Woody.
Cool.
Roasty's Reef, some new faces here. Roasty's Reef, evening, Roasty's Reef. Happy Friday. Reef community worldwide. Hello, who's Greg? Reef Keeper, evening, Reef Keeper. Hope you're good, mate. Hope your tank's looking well as usual.
We got some support from the US.
Some support from the US. Roberto, evening, Rob. Rob's going to be talking about his coral spawning on Sunday's stream.
Nice.
Hopefully, if he's got everything together in time for that, so that'll be good to talk about. We've got Darren McGinty. Evening. Hope you're well, mate. Not seen you in here for a while. Good evening. Nice to see you in the chat again. Willstone Reefer. Evening. Totally forgot. Oh, you're fine. You're here, mate. Don't worry about it. Thanks for joining us. Banana Rama. Hope you're well.
Banana Rama.
Happy Friday to you. You got some names here. I've not seen in here before. The Smoking Reefer. I like that.
That's another friend of mine.
Got to support. Thank you very much for the support over the pond. Appreciate it. Tim's here. Tim's in the house. Wakefield Reefer near me. Bit late. Been taxi driving.
Nice.
Thanks for joining us, Tim. Hope you're well. Sandy Cheeks. Good afternoon. Good afternoon to you too. Wherever
Good
you
afternoon.
Are. Thanks for joining. Oh,
Sandy might be in America if it's afternoon.
Must be. Wakefield Reef. Hi, John. Stuart Pinnell. Hi, Stuart. Hope you're good. We've got Mike D in the house. Hey there, Greg.
What's up,
D.
Mike?
Hello, Mike. Thank you very much. And I think we have introduced everybody. If I've missed anybody, I will come back to you at some point throughout the stream. What I will say, if anybody's got any questions for Greg, we're gonna have a good chat with Greg shortly. After Jeremy's give us a bit of a catch up with the news, then please throw it in the comments, and I will try and add them to a couple of other questions that some of the guys in the WhatsApp group have already asked me to throw up here. So please do ask them. If there's anything too similar, we'll pass on. But if there's anything you want to talk about, just throw it in the comments, and we'll ask Greg while he's here. But yeah, thanks again, Greg. Really appreciate you coming on.
Right.
Thanks for giving us a couple of hours of your time.
No problem.
So Jeremy, you've been on a bit of a jolly boys, haven't you, with Paul at AAC? And
I've been away. I haven't really properly left the UK for ages, so it was a bit of a kind of a holiday combined. Well, fish keeping, reef keeping, it's a holiday anyway, isn't it? You call it business when you go to a show, but it's just like good fun. So yeah, I've been to Holland. I went with Paul from AAC and Joe from Aquarium Composition. I went to a show over there called Vivarium, and Vivarium, as you might think, is kind of reptile related, kind of aquaria, terraria, vivaria, paludaria, but also a marine show, and it's called MACE, the Marine Aquarium Conference of Europe. So it's their kind of stab at MACNA, and it's a really big show. So combined, the Vivarium show is 12,000 square meters, which is huge. Two halls just dedicated to marine, and there were over 12,000 people there, which is a lot. And I think Greg's a showman, so that's a lot of people, right, Greg?
Yeah,
a lot of people. So yeah, it was great. It was a great show, and we got to see all the kind of European companies there. So you've got like De Jong and Fauna Marin and Abiz and Pantarai and all the kind of great and the good of the Europe, Tunzi, you know, all of the kind of big European guys were there. So it was great to see the products and, you know, bump into the people and, you know, have a few beers, and it was really good. And then when you're in Holland, you may as well visit stores and wholesalers, and that's the home of De Jong. So De Jong, if people don't know, is like the Dutch TMC. It started off as like a marine livestock wholesaler, and they supply lots and lots of stores in mainland Europe, but also public aquariums. So as well as doing fish and corals, they do like sharks and all the big stuff as well. And I've been there several times over the past kind of 10 to 15 years, but this time I haven't been for 5 years because of COVID, and this time I went and it's trebled in size, completely different. So not only is it now a fish and coral wholesaler, they now have an aquaculture facility where they breed fish, and it's amazing. It's a world-class facility. They've bred over 70 species already. They've got 150 species they want to breed. They've done some inverts as well, like some shrimp, but the fish and the whole, you know, the whole rearing and the kind of strategy about finding out how every single different saltwater fish breeds, it was fascinating, and it was an amazing trip. It was the highlight of my trip. It really was. It was great.
Cool.
Nice.
Yeah. So what else did I do? I went to a store over there. That was pretty cool. It was big, lots of fish, loads of corals, and they've got corals that we can't have in the UK. So Greg's over in the States, so he can have whatever corals he wants.
Coral Costco.
Yeah. In America, they can have acanthophyllia and trachyphylia and
scolynia.
Yeah. And I don't know if Greg's aware, but over here in the UK, just the UK, we've got an import restriction on Queensland, the Great Barrier Reef. So there are only 4 species of coral we're allowed. It wasn't always like this. It's only been in place for about 2 years, but yeah, we really miss our scollies and stuff like that.
Was that part of Brexit?
Kind of. We used to do what the Europeans did. They've got their own kind of import ban on various species, but it's kind of Europe related. But the Brits have erred on the side of caution because they want they want proof that the collection of some of these single polyp LPS corals isn't detrimental, and until the Australians will provide the numbers, they're kind of saying, you know, we don't want to get them. But that's, you know, just a shame for us. So but yeah, so I went to a store that was really cool. Where else did I go? I went to a zoo as
Do you want
well.
me to show any of these videos, Jeremy? Sorry, you've
Yeah,
got
why
them,
not? Yeah.
What do you want to go with first? We've got the display tank at the John that you sent me, so I'll throw that up now.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Talk to us through this then. So how big is this that we're looking at then?
So
remember?
this is it's about 10 by 8 by about 2.5 feet tall. So it's the famous tank that they used to take that whole tank to the Interzoo show in Germany, and you can forklift it. You can put it on a forklift and transport it. Anyway, it's gone back and forth to Interzoo over the past 10 years or so, and now it's in its permanent resting place in the De Jong facility, and they've decided to set it up as a permanent display tank. So really nice. You can viewable from 3 sides, and obviously, as you'd expect, some nice rare fish in there, Antheus, stuff like that, and some really nice SPS acros. And it was just nice, and it's only recently been set up. So what you're actually seeing there is quite a young tank, and it's got lots of growing in to do, but it's doing really, really well already.
Wow. You just would do that though. If you were a wholesaler, you would have to literally take a little piece of everything and see what you could do with it, wouldn't you? Put it in a glass box. The temptation would be too much for me. It would anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So that was a nice highlight, but the whole facility just kind of blew me away. The aquaculture, and they've got like a coral farm, but it was more kind of chopping corals at the moment, not spawning, and not really. It's big, but I got the impression that, if they were just reliant on those frags, I think they'd get through them really, really quickly. So that's still in its infancy, but the breeding facility was the one for me. They're breeding everything from seahorses to angelfish to surgeon fish to gobies, and it was just amazing to see. Antheus they're doing now as well, so yeah, it's great. Really cool.
And the Burgers Reef, then we spoke about Burgers Reef. It's actually called Burgers Reef.
Burger Zoo, Mr. Burgers or Burger. Yeah, Mr. Burger. So it's a zoo in Europe, and they've got a really big reef tank, as you can see there. So Julian Sprung and Joe Iulo visited the day after me with Than as well from Tidal Gardens, and they were all blown away by it. And if Joe Iulo's blown away by it, and he's got like Long Island Aquarium, like my favorite tank, it's like wow. But so that's just one side of it, and it goes over and around and around, and it's the first time I've seen a reef that big. And the corals, they don't look big there, but they're kind of like a meter across, most of them. And just watching the fish behavior, so you got cleaner wrasse cleaning at stations, you've got parrotfish chomping on corals, eating them as fast as they can grow. You've got trios of angelfish just swimming around and not leaving each other. The surgeonfish are up in the top, as you might expect, right up in the shallows, all scrapping away to eat algae. So yeah, it's really, really mind blowing. It was cool. It was really cool. Really.
How many thousand liters do you know? Can you remember, or did they tell you?
They didn't tell me, but it's got to be 1 million liters. It's got to be 300,000 gallons. It's absolutely huge.
Won't want to do a water change on that.
No. And as you might expect, the fish were just like much bigger than you'd see. Swallowtail angels, much bigger and much fatter, really fat, healthy powder blue tangs. And yeah, it's great. Really enjoyed it.
Cool. And then I've got here, so we've got the Coral Farm at the John. Which one do you want? Mace Show, Dutch Store? Which one do you want to throw up?
Don't mind. You go.
Okay, so this was the John I remember. I've been years ago.
Yeah, so we were just talking about the coral cares, actually. These are all the Phillips coral cares on the left and right, and Greg and Tom were just talking about these. I mean, what are your guys' thoughts on them?
I love them. They're set and forget for me, but I know Greg's going to say, well, why are you running all the extra blue lights? Probably because I've got them in the cupboard. So I thought more light is better. But no, I like them. I think they're probably one of the easiest lights I've ever used, personally. I like a white light. I've always run T5s in my early days of being obvious. So for me, they were closest match. And affordable as well. Affordable compared to other brands.
I think there's 3 things that have influenced them. One, they're Dutch. They're actually, Philips is a Dutch company, or at least they're based in Holland, and they're the distributor. That's the second thing. Plus, they're waterproof, and like you guys know, it's
salt creep and all that.
Salty environments, coral farms are where most LED lights, as good as they are, go to die. So hopefully the Philips will just go on and on and on, and you could probably hose them down and it wouldn't matter. So
They're absolutely designed to be able to do that. So,
yeah,
and that's, you know, in a commercial facility, I think that's really important. A lot of people don't realize, you know, you got aquariums and tanks. It's not, I mean, in your house, it's not a big deal. But when you have that much water in a commercial facility overnight, you know, when it's closed up, how the humidity,
yeah,
it's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So,
I used to work at a wholesalers, and we ran hydras, and they're brilliant lights, and the corals were amazing. But, and this is not any slight on AI, but it was so humid in there that it almost rained off the lights in the mornings.
Yeah.
You know, and it would just kill them, and we'd send them back, and they'd show us the video of pouring water out of the lights and say, "It's you guys," and we said, "We know it is. We're not, you know, can we pay you to repair them?" And they'd repair them, send them back, and we'd get them soaking again. So,
gotcha.
Yeah,
no, it's crazy. You know, you know, and I told this story to Ryan at BRS, and you know, we went to Unique Corals a long time ago.
Yep.
And my buddy Dave Botwin, some people know him as Oh Too Many Fish, was working there at the time. And I was like, oh, you know, I said it was my first experience with like a black box LED. Can't remember which one it was, but a well-known maker of it. And I was impressed because, hey, you know, it was 200 watts, this particular one. And I'm like, hey, can you turn it on? He's like, yeah, I can turn it on. And when he flipped it on, it started, because it was first thing in the morning, and it was the humidity in the building was really high. It shot sparks and fire.
Really?
And then it just went up, and it was just smoke billowing out of it. It was crazy. And I was like, holy cow. Now, I mean, I don't think any light should do that, but I kind of understand because of the humidity, but it scared the hell out of me from black boxes.
Yeah.
That's for
Some
sure.
people in the UK pay extra for that, Greg, you know?
Huh?
What's that?
Some people in the UK pay extra for that option.
No, you know? Yeah. Yeah.
Should we do a bit of product news before we introduce Greg? And
yeah, of course we can.
Okay.
So what do you want? The exciting, what I would call the really weird looking waterfall?
Go on then.
What is this?
Okay. So this is the Panther Surge. It's by German pump manufacturer Panther Ray, and it's quite, well, you'd almost describe it as an upside down Tunzi wave box. So basically it pulls water in at the bottom and pumps it out at the top. It's a DC pump, so you can make it kind of pulse and do whatever you want it to do. And it's kind of creating a wave. Now it's lost in that tank because the tank's small and the box is big. And that's the largest model as well. It's got a Hydro Wizard pump in it. Do you know about the Hydro Wizard pump, Tom?
I do. Yes.
Yeah. So that instantly makes it expensive because it's got a full-blown Hydro Wizard in it. And that biggest model is something along the lines of €4,000.
What?
£4,000.
Well, I can just see Rob. He's buying one right now. Pelagic swimmer. He's probably Googling where he can get one. That looks like a really expensive water effect feature in your garden.
I will tell you this. That is probably running at 10-15%.
Correct.
Yeah.
You are right, Mr. Carroll. It's 10% if it's that. I mean, this thing, it's, you know, that's for public aquaria. That would make a great seagrass tank, and, you know, that'll send water 15 feet if you want it to. And that's probably its application. So, you know, you can't really see it there. There are smaller ones. There are kind of like 4-inch square ones, and they're cheaper, but they're still the price of the Hydro Wizard plus the box. So kind of obvious questions with the reefers I was with. Can we make our own? You know, can we 3D print one? Can we, you know?
3D, I believe the whole box is 3D printed. At least the ones that they've been showing off were definitely 3D printed.
Exactly.
So I have one on order.
Have you really?
How much was yours?
So, yeah, I can't say.
$2,000.
But because hold on, no, much less. Because I already have the pump.
So
I
you
already
just got the
have
box.
hydrolysis, so I'm just buying.
Right. Okay.
I'm just buying the box, and so Matthias came to Reefapalooza, California, and showed it off, and they had it in demonstration mode. And when I saw it, it was on a tank that was probably 150 gallons, and they had the pump up to like 30-40%, and I was like, oh my, it's a different type of flow. It is nothing like a Tunzi wave box that works by displacement.
Yeah, it doesn't rock, does it? And
right.
It
But it's
pulls all
a
the water.
different type of flow, man. And it really is gentle. And a lot of people, just so you guys know, the top of the box is actually designed to be slightly submerged. When it's in operation in your tank, it's not. They only do that for the shows where they have it exposed. So it should be submerged, and that way it runs the water over your
So this is going to be submerged, you're saying?
Yeah, the top of that would be under the water line.
Right. Okay.
So that's going to change the flow again, then, isn't it? So it's a bit of an unfair representation. A huge box in a small tank, and it's sticking out as well.
And then the top piece, there's multiple different ones depending on where you're putting it. That's the one for if it's on just a side panel. They have one for the corner and so forth, so they can change the flow depending on where you place it.
Cool. So you're going to run one in your reef tank, Greg?
Yes, I already have I run the ECM 63 already.
Okay, so that's going to be really interesting to see the effects in your reef. You know how much it moves the corals and the undertow as well across the bottom. So
right. Well, I mean, I have a massive amount already because I run that pump, but I just like the way it runs the flow over the top. It's just unique.
So for somebody, so Rob's saying here in the chat, so he's got a Hydro Wizard already. So it's something that you just need the box. Okay.
Yeah. You can buy just the box from them.
That makes a big difference to the price. A huge difference to the price.
Monstrous.
Do we know what the difference is, or are we just going to guess?
I mean, it's going to be less than 1,000.
All right. Okay.
I mean, because the pump itself is like 3.
Yeah.
Liam saying, breaking news, Jeb have just released their own version.
Yeah, it can. They ain't ever come up with anything on their own. So
as soon as they saw the video, then Tom, they just went into production. Just like that.
It'll probably be available next week.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh dear.
So,
oh dear. Few people who've joined us this evening, joined the chat. Thanks ever so much for coming in on a Friday. Hope you're having a good Friday and happy weekend to you all. Alex Brooks, hope you're well, mate. Hope you're having a good Friday, mate. And we've got also Bearded Fish Guy in the house. And Reef King has joined us. Hi, Carl. Hope you're having a good Friday, mate. Happy Friday to you too. So yeah. So what else did you see then? I know we're going to talk about Greg. Greg, you are the star of the show. Sorry, we are going to quote you.
No, I'm an equipment head, so I love head.
We talked about that. You want to talk about the Mace show or the Dutch store? Which one? I've got a couple more videos that you sent me in. Do you know what you want to cover?
Well, we can talk about the Mace show. The Mace show just looks like any other show. But yeah, bring it up. So this is one of 2 halls that were just dedicated to saltwater. So this is, just coral vendors, manufacturers, distributors, that sort of thing. But for me, it's kind of about meeting people I know. And it doesn't. I suppose it looks quite busy there, but it was a lot busier. And so it's just, and they had talks and that sort of thing. Just something that we need more of in the UK. There's the big Bubble King.
Oh wow, yeah.
So this is where people show off. That's the Royal exclusive tank, which is it's a bit weird actually. Yeah, it's an acquired taste.
It is an acquired taste.
Yeah.
Okay. And an acquired budget. Let's be honest.
Yeah, have you seen the extras? Once you start piling the extras on,
I don't want to. I wouldn't want to even imagine.
Oh, it's incredible price. Yeah, so that's it. That's De Jong in the middle, and they were kind of showing off how they do fish breeding and that sort of thing. But it was quite easy for me to get there. I went on the Eurotunnel, so we just got in the car under the channel, and France, Belgium, then Holland. So, Brits, if you want to go there with your mates, just go, grab your passport. It's once a year. It's a really good time. The hotels are great and it's quite cheap, but it's not too far to travel to. You should definitely consider it. And there was quite a few Americans there as well.
Was there anything dry goods wise that we can't get over here that you wanted to put in your hold all or anything you saw? No,
there wasn't actually. There was a few. We got to see the ATI Stratton Pro and feel that, but that's in the UK now. We got to see, like I said, a Biz pumps. If you never really seen them and touched them and felt them, they were there, kind of blasting thousands of gallons of water. And then, like I say, the Tunzi stand. You've got the Tunzi family actually on it. So, this is the difference. You can meet the manufacturers themselves and talk to them. And, that's the one because you get the best answers from them, really.
Yeah. Okay. And then the Dutch store then, which was the last video I've got here. So this is, where was this then? Obviously Dutch. Where was this? What was it called?
I can't remember. So this is upstairs, but again, they're kind of semi-wholesale, semi-retail. So lots of Indonesian Euphyllia, as you might imagine, Fimbriophilia and torches, all the high-end torches, and lots of them, quite well priced, and just row after row after row, which is probably completely normal for Greg in his world, but in the UK to see that many torches, we're just kind of like adding up the price per head, just going, right, okay, that's a lot of money. So
that's a lot of money. Yeah.
No, it's good.
Cool. Well, a lot of people buying livestock from this as well. Was it a place you could get you could just walk in and buy, or was it wholesale only? Sorry.
Well, it coincided with the show, so most people were buying corals from the show. So if this place, say 20 miles from the show, you're gonna keep your $100 or whatever, and take it there and spend there instead. So
cool.
Yeah, it's just nice to see different countries. No, okay. We used to be able to before Brexit. You didn't have to declare them, and now it would be like importing from Indonesia, all the paperwork, all the CITES documents. So no, not.
So you got what you paid for.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
pretty much.
Y'all voted for it, and you got it.
I didn't vote for it. I wanted to stay.
Yeah, let's not open that can of worms tonight, Greg, on a Friday night. Bit of a sore subject at the minute. Yeah. Anyway, right then, Greg, you're in the hot seat. So
all right, I'm ready. So if y'all didn't know, I'm a shit stirrer. So
oh, is that your introduction?
Is that
it? I was going to play a little drum roll for you then.
So.
Shall I attempt to give you a better introduction? So
yes, please.
You are the founder of Reefapalooza. Is that correct?
I am. No, our club was. So
tell us about that.
I wasn't the president when Reefapalooza started, but I was always involved all the way through with planning it because I was on the club committee that planned it. So Mark Trimble, our former president, I would say is the father of Reefapalooza. So
tell us about your club then, please, Greg, and Reefapalooza and how the whole thing and your whole background in reefing. You tell us about that.
Gotcha.
Please.
Okay. So what happened was back in 2003 or so, I was really involved in reefing, just getting really hardcore into SPS and everything. You hear about MACNA and so forth. And I'm like, dude, we should get MACNA to come here to California. Because if anybody knows the history of MACNA, California was the place it never came. It never came to California. It stayed more on the East Coast and everything. And I'm like, and back then clubs used to bid on MACNA. So I was part of the Southern California Marine Aquarium Society, and that club's been around since 1984, was just saltwater. And, they had done other shows that competed with MACNA, but never on that level. MACNA was the big one, the granddaddy, as everybody would say. So that was the show, and everything else was just a small show, in comparison. So, so we had done Southern California is kind of, as I like to say, the home of the frag swaps. That's where they kind of started. And in the early 2000s, we did these backyard frag swaps where you'd go to somebody's backyard and you'd have your frags in a bag
cooler.
Yeah, or a cooler, and you guys would trade, sell, whatever frags. So we decided in 2004 to do a show called Reefapalooza, and it was in the backyard of our president's home, and he had a big backyard. We brought in Anthony Calfo. He did a demonstration or a talk on it was a talk and demonstration on fragging corals and farming corals and everything. And at that time, he was the foremost expert, one of the big experts.
I've got his book right there.
There you go.
So, yeah.
So Anthony did that, and it's cool. We probably got about 200 people to come, which is in somebody's backyard. That's a lot of people,
Yeah.
So the next year we decided to do it again. Okay, let's make it an annual event. We did it again in his backyard. The second time we got about 300 people. At that point, he said, okay, this is too much in my backyard, because all his plants got trampled, because it was like standing room only. I mean, people were just...
It sounds like my barbecue I do every year at August. It's going to end up like this.
Yeah. And so we continued on. In the next year, one of our members on the board, he happened to be one of the guys that ran Marine Depot. And he was their operations manager. And he's like, hey, Marine Depot's closed on Saturday. We take orders, so people are in there answering the phones, but there's no walk-ins. So you guys can use our parking lot if you want. So we're like, cool.
Yeah.
So we did it in the parking lot. And we had about 800 people.
Wow.
It was just, it just seemed like it was one of those things. The bigger we made it, the more people showed up. You know what I mean? So we realized that even that was too small of an area. So the following year, we went to the fairgrounds and did one of their big exposition halls.
Can I just ask you, Greg, what was the common sort of denominator between everybody going there? Was it to just hang out with each other as reefers, or
no, it was everything.
To buy things?
Hang out as reefers, see new equipment, because we started, one of the things, I mean, we didn't just, even from the get-go, we didn't just have coral farmers, people, selling and trading corals. When we got to the Marine Depot one, there were actual exhibitors. Now, mind you, Reef Nutrition was there from the first time. They were there the first year. They were always supporting of Reefapalooza. They were the first exhibitor to say yes, and they always came. But by Marine Depot's time, you had a lot of their distributors that wanted to come to it.
Yeah.
And it just continued to grow. We went to the fairgrounds, and it became more of a legitimate show. Still dominated by coral sellers, because there's a lot of them here in California, because all the wholesalers are here in California. Everything coming from Indo and Australia, it all comes to LAX. So most of your wholesalers are here. So we had a lot of support, but we couldn't get a lot of the international manufacturers. They just were still gearing up to go to MACNA.
Right.
So I went to MACNA in 2007, 2008, trying to, lure some of these vendors to come try a Reefapalooza, because we thought we had magic in a bottle. I mean, it was, the show was just growing exponentially. And, I was really unable to, because they spend so much money to come to a Reefapalooza. I mean, to come to a MACNA. They just didn't have money left over in the budget to come back to the U.S. to do something like Reefapalooza. So kind of sucked, and I never really had a hard time breaking into that group. One of the companies that was always supporting Reefapalooza was Worldwide Corals, and they were always like, "Hey, we should do one here in Orlando." And I was like, because by then I was president of the club, and I put it off for a long time. I don't remember which year we actually did the first Reefapalooza in Orlando. I believe it was about 10 years ago, though. And it was a monstrous hit in Orlando. And, they're like, "Hey, we should do one in New York." All right. If you guys are going to run it, do it in New York.
And how much organizing do these take? Sorry to put in. How much organizing?
It's a whole year.
Really?
A whole year. Yeah.
Wow.
You're talking a 25,000 to 40,000 square foot floor space. It takes a lot of exhibitors, over 100 exhibitors at these to make them happen. And everyone's got questions all year round going through, it's a full-time thing. And that was the thing. Us as hobbyists, we were all volunteers for SCMAS.
Yeah.
We didn't want to nobody wants to do that much work and not get paid.
Yeah.
So we let them do it. And they pay the club, they fund our club for the most part.
Yeah.
The shows. So Worldwide Corals runs the shows now. And 2 years ago, when MACNA canceled, we actually had a few European companies come and do Reefapalooza. Nios was one of them, and a couple other brands. And I was like talking to the guys at lunch, and they couldn't believe how many people were at Reefapalooza.
Yeah.
They're like, "We always thought MACNA was the big show. This is way bigger." And I was like, "Well, then tell your friends." The next year, more of them showed up. And we expect even more to show up this year. It's finally caught on that, hey, there's other shows out there that are big and get a large audience.
And now Reefapalooza is the biggest show in America, and MACNA's
saltwater.
Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, Aquashell is a big show, but it's a combination of freshwater, reptile, and saltwater. I think we're definitely the biggest saltwater show, because I mean, MACNA's gone now, and
the Orlando show is the one that the Brits turn up to as well, because they can take their families and have a holiday at the same time. So
Stuart Bertram was on his way to vacation after the show.
Exactly. And I know that the Ecotech guys from the UK do, and Paul from AAC. And so there's a kind of a British contingent that visits RAP for the Orlando show. So yeah, it's it's the show we hear the most about as well.
Yeah, it's got the biggest floor space, so you can have a bigger show. Here in California, we're limited. We only have 2 ballrooms that are at 25,000 square feet, or 2 hotels that have ballrooms 25,000 square feet, but that's the biggest. The only way to go more than that is to move up to the convention center, which is like 150,000 square feet. And that'll, you can't go from 25 to 150,000 square feet. It just doesn't work. So,
Greg, at what point did you get to a point where I suppose the brands were coming to you to want to be involved? Because I'm assuming in the early days you were pushing this or promoting this as a group to sort of say, you know, this is what we want to do, getting more and more people involved. And then I'm assuming the odd exhibitor came involved, got involved, and then it just organically grew. And I'm confident that at a point you got to a point where everybody was emailing and saying we want to put on a show or no. How did that work?
Never. If you're not proactive, you're not going to have a show.
Really? Well, okay.
No. Yeah. No. You got to do the outreach. You got to do the advertising. It's your job to make sure everyone knows that it exists.
Yeah.
That's so you have to be proactive in making sure that they are like, this is the place to be. This is where you want to be. So the reality is, it's all on you. And if you don't do it, I think you failed as a promoter. So we're always trying to reach out to companies to let them know, hey, you know, this is the show you want to be at.
Yeah.
So how many shows a year do you do now? How many different locations?
So we're doing 4 next year. We took a year off from 1 last year because we wanted to move the time frame of the show. But this year we got coming in March, we're going to do Reefapalooza, Texas, which is just outside of Dallas and Frisco. Then in April, we have Reefapalooza, Orlando. In June, we have Reefapalooza, New York, which is actually across the river in New Jersey. I know people get all upset about that, but I'm like, you know, if you live in New Jersey, all your TV stations are coming from New York in that part. So you're literally on the other side of the river. So so we do that in June, and then in August, September will be Reefapalooza, California, and that'll be the last one for the year.
Which one's your favorite?
I'd have to say Orlando.
Oh, okay.
So Orlando is my favorite because I get to see worldwide corals. Yeah, you know, if you haven't been to worldwide corals, it's a treat, man. It's just so different from any other fish store out there. And then also the hotel, it's a resort. I mean, the pool area is phenomenal. You know, water slides. It's a place to bring your kids. Cool. And then you tack on that, you got Disney, you got Universal, you got SeaWorld. So if you want to spend some extra days and do some of those things,
it's tempting me, Tom. It's tempting me.
Well, I was just about to say you did a talk at the Love to Reef convention, didn't you? Or should I say meet about the difference between America and the UK, should I say, US and UK. We are light years behind, but we're trying, you know. There's been a big movement, especially in the last few years with Paul, and, you know, we've had Aqua H, we've had, you know, Love to Reef, we've had the Coral Freaks that Paul's put on at AAC. And I think we've all just got to, I sound like a stuck record banging a drum here, we've just got to make that conscious effort. We've got, if we all want it, we've got to do something about it. And that's why I was asking you a minute ago, Greg, about the vendors and the exhibitors. You know, how do we sort of move this forward? Because there's a lot of people that need this in their lives. They need the interaction, you know, socially, whether it's on YouTube or Instagram, or, you know, just because there's not as many LFSs. But if we can have the shows and we can sort of copy you guys a little bit, which is why I was interested to see what you've got to say there. I think it's a step for us in the UK in the right direction. Hopefully.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's, you know, that's the big thing is once you get them there, if they have a good experience, those companies have a good experience, they'll keep coming back. They'll keep coming back. So, you know, that's basically our goal, to make sure that they believe that they got a good value for their money. There was enough people there to justify how much they spent on the booths and so forth.
Yeah.
You know, because
you say booths or booze then? Sorry, because in England,
booths.
Yes, booths. Sorry,
not alcohol.
So yeah.
Cool. Because you even do like rockscaping competitions, don't you? Like,
so
some
this
of the competitions were just sick.
Yes. So this last year at Reefapalooza, Marco Rock, this is something that was the exhibitor thought about it. They're like, hey, why don't we do an aquascaping competition?
Cool. Yeah.
And the winner gets to keep their rockscape. And we're like, yeah, we can make room for that.
Mm.
I mean, to have demonstrations and things like that. We already had speakers, and having someone like Ryan of BRS, as a speaker was great. I was so happy that he chose Reefapalooza to do his talks. He did like 3 talks last year. But yeah, Marco Rock decided to do that competition, and it worked out great. People loved it. I couldn't believe how many people stood around and watched it for the full 30 minutes while they did their aquascapes.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's obviously big in the freshwater aquascaping scene as well. The scape offs.
Yes. No, you can't. The scape offs in freshwater are pretty insane.
Yeah,
And
incredible, aren't they?
We used to, at Reefapalooza, New York, we did freshwater aquascape competitions, and at a saltwater show, and a lot of saltwater guys were like, "Man, that's cool. I think I want to do something like that. Do a planted tank."
Yeah.
It inspired a few guys. So for those freshwater companies that participated, to them, hey, we did what we wanted. We got some more people in our hobby.
And just talking about Marco Rock, Greg, they now do a live rock.
They do. They
Any
do.
Good? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. So I actually, at Reefapalooza, California, I actually took the live rock home. I was like, hey, can I get that at the end of the show? And they're like, sure. It's really nice, man. It's got a lot of life on it. I mean, mine even came with some anemone. I have no idea what kind of anemone it is. It's totally different than any other anemone I've ever seen in the hobby. But
so, which ocean are they making it live in? Is this the Gulf of Mexico? Is this
Atlantic?
Atlantic,
At the tip of it's in the Florida Keys. So between the Gulf and the Atlantic.
Okay.
And it's from my understanding, it's in the water for years.
Wow.
So they've been putting it in there for years. It was actually another company that was doing it already. Yep. They already had the permits, and Marco's like, hey, we'll send rock to you, and then you drop it in, and a few years later we'll get it back.
We'll get it back. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So this is the fruits of their labor then. This is like winemaking.
Yeah. And it's got sponges, different colors of coral and algae all over it. And the coolest thing is it didn't sit in a container ship for a month getting over here.
Yep.
It's sent next day air.
Yeah.
And so you're getting fresh, clean live rock. You can put in, there's not going to be a cycle or anything like that because there's not going to be any die off. It's pretty nice stuff.
Sounds good.
Yeah,
it does. I'm just going to say hello to a few other people, gents, that have just dropped in to say Happy Friday to us. So who've got in here? We've got a Reefing with O. It's Greg. Evening to you. Happy Friday.
So O is my co-host on my Instagram live stream.
Oh, right.
Hello.
Okay.
Yes.
Hello. Nice to meet you.
Hi.
Thanks for joining the chat. Appreciate the support.
Yeah, you guys should have him on sometime too. He's
definitely
pretty entertaining.
Cool.
We've got Amanda in the house. Evening, Amanda. Hope you're good. Happy Friday.
Hi, Amanda.
I've seen Yarek is in the house as well. Evening, Yarek. Hope you're good. Not seen you for a while. Hope your tank's doing well, mate. Mr. Rodber, Ian Rodders. Hope you're good. Happy Friday to you, mate.
I've heard loads about you, Ian. Loads.
I was only talking to him yesterday. I said, "Help me get a light. I need a light for this tank behind me." Acro Killer, the man, the myth, the legend, the real G. That must be one of your followers. Evening, Acro Killer.
He's my other co-host of my live stream.
Okay.
So yeah, good guy.
Evening. Thank you for joining us. Critical Reef is here. Thank you very much. And as Liam has said, if you could just throw us a like, subscribe if you've not already to the channel, that would be
Absolutely,
appreciated.
guys.
And happy Friday to Lee. Nice to see you in the chat. Thanks, mate. So Greg, then your tanks. Then first tank, what was it? Talk us through that if you don't mind.
So my wife is the one that actually got me in the hobby.
Oh, okay.
So I was interested in getting an aquarium when I was in college. I took a marine science class, loved it. I wanted to get an aquarium, but I never got one. I would go to these fish stores and check them out, and I never got one. And went away to college, and there was a fish store, and we would go every weekend to go check out the fish.
Yeah.
I lived in the dorms. They didn't allow fish tanks.
Oh, no.
I became an RA, and I'm like, now I'm above the law. Well, I can have a fish tank, right? No, you can't have a fish tank. So
Really?
I didn't get a fish tank. So when I came home, I still went to the fish store once a week and would go check out the fish. Only saltwater
that you can't have.
that I couldn't have because I didn't have an aquarium.
God.
Met my wife.
Okay. Yeah. She
started going with me on these trips to the fish store. Or, we were just dating then. And after doing it for about a year, she decided to buy me a fish tank for Christmas. So she bought me a 40-gallon tank. And so what's that?
In
1,600
liters.
liters. Or
No.
160 liters, maybe. About 150, 160 liters. So did that, and I had a trigger, I had a shark, and
you had a shark?
Yeah, a banded shark.
Wow.
And the trigger ate all the fins off the shark.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So I got rid of I had to get rid of the shark. The shark wasn't going to make it in that tank. I took it back, and I don't even know if they were able to save it.
Oh, dear.
And so then I started seeing other types of fish, reef stuff, and so forth, and invertebrates. And they kept telling me, no, you can't have it with the trigger. You can't have it with the trigger. And I'm like, damn it. And then I finally said, okay, I'm just going to buy another tank, and then I can do all this stuff in another tank. So I bought a 20-gallon. And I had reef, but it's half the size. You can't have as much stuff in it. So finally, I took the trigger back to the fish store and set it up in my 40-gallon. And so now I had two tanks, 2 reefs. And I was, all happy and everything. And one night we heard a shootout going on around the area where our apartment was. And I'm like, yeah, we're moving.
Wow.
So I established that you can't move and not get a new tank. You have to have a new tank when you move.
Oh, it's part of the deal. Part of the deal. Yeah.
So I got a 75-gallon now.
Yes.
And we stayed there, and I had this 75-gallon, and that's where I got the SPS bug. And I wanted.
So is this the one? Sorry, is this the one that you've sent me a couple of pictures of?
I didn't take no pictures of those tanks.
Okay.
This is all like 1990s. So I didn't have a camera phone back then.
Dial-up internet, yeah.
Yeah. So my wife, she's like, let's get a house, because we were in a condo at that time. We had bought a condo. So we moved out of the area, and of course, coming out of the area, I get a new tank. So I bought a 225-gallon, and that's
now we're talking.
That's the tank. Because what someone told me was, you know what? Just get the biggest tank you can afford.
Yeah.
And we had a big house, so I was like, I need a big tank.
Absolutely.
So I got this 225-gallon, and I don't know if you want to show the video of that one.
Which one? Ew, wow. Let's have a look. We have got in your folder. So
it's a video. It's just a video. It's like a minute long.
Oh, let's have a look. Is it? Oh, I'm gonna have a stab here, Greg.
You'll see a big F-flow in the
Oh,
middle.
yeah, it's Greg. So it's this one.
Yep.
So it's the F5. This one.
Yes. So that was the tank I did. Started it in 2003 and finished. I tore it down in 2013 when we moved again.
Right.
So
Do you know what? I haven't seen an F-flow in ages. You've just reminded me. It's one of my favorite corals.
This is one of mine. I've got one in mine.
Oh yeah, but as you see, everything below it is dead.
Only a large frag. Yeah.
That's the downside of an F-flow. So
that's tabling corals for you.
Like a Monte Cap, it grows. Well, it don't scroll, but it just goes out. Yeah.
Yep.
Tables.
So that tank was 6 feet long, 2.5 feet front to back, and 2 feet tall. So, it was a good sized tank. I had lighting on it. I had 3 400-watt metal halides and 4 T5s.
Yep.
So it was in a Geisman Spectra.
Very nice.
Okay.
Here's what I had: a 6-foot Geisman Spectra. So that tank I had for 10 years, and this is literally a month before I tore it down.
Okay.
So yeah.
Plenty of flow in there by the looks of it as well.
Yeah, I had a 4 Tunsy 60 105s, I think.
And would you? It's a bit of a loaded question because you guys talk about it all the time. But metal halides, Greg, are they still the best? Would you go back to them?
Never.
Why? Go on, tell us.
Because I'm not
tell
a
us
dinosaur. Why. I adapt.
Yeah. But
the reality is the EU has banned, making lights with mercury.
Yeah.
And the reality is, when I was running metal halides, I would have never ever considered running a cheap Chinese metal halide because the quality just wasn't there. It just wasn't as nice. It didn't put out as much, output. The colors didn't look quite as well. So, the stuff, the reflectors weren't as good. Nowadays aren't anywhere near as good as what we had access to, with all these horticulture companies getting in and companies designing these lights to beat the next reflector out there and so forth. All of that's gone. Metal halide is a dead technology, and we're not going to get any better than what we had back then. In actuality, I think we've regressed. So I would not even consider it. And when I decided to I took like three years off after 2013, and I just decided, hey, I'm just going to go all LED.
Yeah. And what's your favorite flavor then? Are you a bit of an Ecotech man, a Radian man?
So yeah, I use Radions. I like them. I really like my Gen 5s, and I like the Gen 6s too, because I think Ecotech was the first company to understand that the par wars were over. Mm-hmm. We had enough par, but what we didn't have was spread.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And unlike other companies who would build these, they use off-the-shelf parts. Ecotech actually did the investment and invested in their own optics. They designed their own optics and came out with an optic that didn't focus on punching light straight down, but throwing it out. So I thought that was a big advancement when it came to the hobby. And that's what I prefer. I like the idea and the way, the way they put out light. The spread is amazing on those things, and it's incredibly even.
So what tank are you running now then, Greg?
So when we moved here to this house, I got it's 62 inches, so a little over 5 feet long.
Is this the picture, Greg, with the rock in it you sent me?
Yes.
Let's have a look if I can show you this one. I
So this
think
is
we are.
when we first
one.
started setting it up. So
look at that pipe work. That is sexual.
So
look at that.
Is that a dream box?
No, that's a Vertex Supra.
Vertex, yeah.
Vertex, okay.
Yeah.
Mm.
So basically, the tank is it's an AGE, what they call their hybrid tank. So the bottom of the tank is PVC.
Yep.
The sides are all glass, and then it's sealed with, it's got the angle iron bracing on the bottom and the top. So
very sensible.
Yeah, which prevents flexing and so forth. It's 27 inches tall, 62 long, 36 front to back.
And that's the Marco shelf in there, is it? Shelf rock.
That is the Marco shelf rock. The year I went to set it up, the Marco shelf rock I saw at Reefapalooza Orlando, and I was like, I went and told the guys at Marco Rock, that's the rock I want for my new tank. And they're like, okay, let us know when you're ready. And actually, Joe from Marco Rock came over and aquascaped it.
Oh, cool.
He built the
nice
and cemented it in. So yeah, it just did a great job. I really love it.
Who did the plumbing? Who did the plumbing?
The owner of Vertex.
Yeah, you buy it like that. Yeah.
No. No. He came to my house and plumbed it.
Wow. You're quite the VIP, Greg. When you've got,
So he built this up. So Vertex built their stuff in China. So they had a factory in China, and he was at China, and he's like, hey, I want to build you a sump for your new tank. And I'm like, okay. He's all, what's the dimensions of the tank? And I told him. And he built this while he was there. And this was a one-off. There's not another one like it, because their sump was much, much smaller than this one.
Yep.
And it had a Zeo reactor in it, and it also has two 6. I don't use that stuff.
Yep.
It also had two 6-inch media reactors in it, where you see those on the right-hand side. You have those ball valves that nothing is attached to.
Nothing is attached to them.
I pulled all that stuff out. I don't use any of that. I use a skimmer, and that's it.
Yeah.
That's my sole filtration choice. If I'm going to run some carbon or some GFO, it's going in a bag. It's not going to be active. It's not. Just don't think about that. That's not my thing. So what happened is I told him, I says, yeah, I'm just going to use silicone hoses to connect it to the tank. And he's all, don't you dare. I'm like, okay. And he showed up and did all the plumbing for me.
Wow.
It came out pretty awesome.
It looks sick. It looks good. I'll give you that. Yeah.
Lots of ball valves.
Yes. A lot of ball valves. So easy disconnect for cleaning and all that stuff.
I see it's got what looks like a 7-inch filter sock. Are you thinking about a roller filter, or are they not your thing?
I've thought about doing a roller filter. Right now I really like that Reef Factory roller. I know people with them, and they really love them. Smoking Reefer has one. That's probably what I'm going to do. The problem is plumbing to it.
Yep.
And the cool thing is my tank is all metric. So most of these European devices, I don't need the adapter. It's 40 millimeter. I can just connect to them pretty easy. And I know that it's 40 millimeter also for the Reef Factory roller. Yep. So that's probably the one I'm going to go to. But
so I've noticed for the tank before we showed, Greg, we had sand in that one.
Yes, I did. I went bare bottom on this tank, mainly because my buddies at Worldwide Corals, they always did bare bottom tanks.
Yeah.
and they could run just massive amounts of flow. So that was what I did, and I went bare bottom on this one.
So I'm guessing this one's going to be SPS as well.
So, well, yeah, it is SPS. This is 5 years ago, four years ago.
Oh, sorry, I thought this was
let me
right.
let me show you. Are you all right for me to show one of the videos, Greg? I think I've got them in the order of growth.
Or well, let's talk about all the equipment real quick, and then we'll move on. So back then, I used a Vertex skimmer because it came with the sump. It was the Alpha 250. I've since changed that, and I went with the Ultra Reef 250, the Typhoon 250. I love that skimmer. It's
very solid, isn't it?
Oh,
very. Yeah.
There's nothing like it. Not even Bubble King. It's just unparalleled in how overkill they did on the design. Milling everything from 1-inch thick PVC, all the parts and everything. It's just crazy. But it was a dream. I saw it, and I'm like, that's the one I want. So I got that skimmer. My return pump is an Abyss A200. Very nice. Great pump. I also run a calcium reactor. It's a Reef Octopus. I think it's a 9-inch, the CR220.
Right.
Love that thing.
Still running it now. Sorry, still running it now.
Yeah. Still running the Reef Octopus. Back then I wasn't. I was just doing Kalkwasser. I mean, when I first started the tank, I was doing Kalkwasser. Once Kalkwasser was outpacing what I could do with Kalkwasser, I set up the calcium reactor. So maybe the first year I went without a calcium reactor. For flow pumps, I have 2 MP60s that are on the ends of the tank, and then 2 MP40s on the back wall of the tank. And then I also, behind the rockscape in that lower left-hand corner in the back, there's a Hydro Wizard ECM 63.
Wow.
So there's a tremendous amount of flow, which is why, I felt it was important to have bare bottom, with that much flow. Yeah. Okay. And then for lighting, you want to show the lighting picture?
Yes, I think it's a video. This one you've sent me the lighting from a brightly.
Short, though. Yeah.
1 second. I think it's this one. Let's have a look.
So we have 5 Gen 5 Radions. Those are the blues, the Radeon Gen 5 blues.
Yeah.
And then 2 blades. And I'm able to angle the blades. Those are the blade glows. And I'm able to angle them how I want, to.
Yeah, I could see those have got an angle on them. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Very nice. And you could see, we've probably all seen it. When you have high flow, the water kind of boils. You get this kind of mercury effect, don't you?
Yes.
And I can see it there. And that's when you've got a lot of flow.
Yeah, definitely. You can also see the wave bouncing up and down in the tank.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Looks good. Those yellow tangs look very healthy as well.
Oh yeah. I got those like maybe 3 months before they announced the ban.
Yeah.
And so I literally paid $30 for those tangs each.
So it should be.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
They were little babies.
So you got plenty of light. Did you say you got 4 or 5 Radians on there?
5.
5 on a 5 foot, and you've got them spun around.
So the way I did it, there's one in the center, and then there's a space on each side, and then there's 2 butted right up next to each other.
Okay.
On each end. The reason why is because anybody who's played with a par meter understands that the majority of your light is in the middle of the tank.
Yeah.
And on the end of the tank, it drops off. In my tank, it's even all the way across because there's double the light on the ends of the tank versus the middle. So
yeah, and you've got wall-to-wall SPS, and you don't want any shading.
Correct. So now you can go ahead and show the tank.
Right. We've got a video. I think when it was probably in its earlier days, was it?
Oh, maybe. Oh, yeah. I think I did
This
send
one
you
you
one of
sent
those.
us?
Yeah. So that was when I first started it off. And you know, one of the things I put acros everywhere, man. I
can see that.
You know, and then when I didn't like something, you know, maybe it didn't color up the way I wanted to, or I found out it was the same as something I already had, I might
add
move
duplicates
with something else. That was the nice thing is I haven't, even when I've had an issue where I've lost a coral, I just move something up from the bottom, you know, and I still haven't run out of stuff to remove from the bottom. So
it's making me want to do acros again, just looking at it. They're so tempting. Yeah. So tempting. Are they mainly farmed acros? No kind of
yeah, most all the stuff was farmed frags and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And yeah.
And the fish, Greg, sorry, Jeremy, were they fish from your old system? Have you held on to them for a while, or did you just go out and get them
for about 4 years?
Okay. So why those fish then?
So it started off with mainly the tangs.
Yeah.
You know, tangs are workers. You know, I started this tank with 100% dry rock. So, you know, you kind of know when you have dry rock, you can face algae issues. So I wanted to start off with a healthy dose of things that eat algae. Sorry about that, guys. My dog's going nuts. But yeah, I wanted to start. So I always start the tank off with a healthy cleanup crew, hermit crabs, snails, tangs, and then I start slowly adding fish. And yeah, that's just the way it is. My favorite fish are anthias. So, you know, I don't have any at this point because this is still in the beginning of the system and they're just lookers. They don't really serve a purpose other than looks. So at that point, I didn't have any anthias.
And I've got the next video I've got, I think you sent me was this one. This one.
So yeah, that's from recent.
Oh wow,
is that a recent? That has grown insane, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Because you can't even see the rock.
Yeah. Exactly. That's the downside against a beautiful aquascape.
I agree.
In the end, you ain't gonna see it. So
you're not gonna see it. Yeah, I know. Yeah.
I also find that compared to the freshwater aquascaping guys, we've got hardscape that grows, and so you know you start off with it looking one way, and then like with your staghorn, you know, it just kind of becomes the dominant feature when it was just, you know, you've got to have that foresight of when it's an inch long, where it's going to go and how it's going to grow.
Yeah,
exactly.
What's the time frame? Because I mean, a couple of
that's about 4 years.
4 years.
Yeah.
Okay. 4 years.
Or maybe 4.5.
Wow. Okay.
So
apologies if I've got these videos in the wrong order, because I've got that one, and then we've got I think we've got this one as well. So that's probably a different angle of the camera.
Yeah, just a different angle.
Cool.
So
what are your kind of secrets then, Greg? Obviously, you've got a thriving aquaplora dominant tank there. I mean, what do you dose? You've got a calcium reactor. What else do you feed or dose?
Okay.
What
so I do have a feeding regimen. So one of the things I'm really bad with being asked to do anything of any consistency. I just don't do it. I don't do anything with consistency. So I have to train myself to do things that that lack me having to intervene. So feeding, I use an auto feeder. I use so I run a Hydros controller.
Yeah.
And I have the Hydros auto feeder, which is very similar to that Eheim auto feeder.
Yep.
It feeds every hour on the hour, small amount. The Anthias go crazy for about 30 seconds, and then they're done. You know, they've gotten all they needed for that hour. That's all they're going to get. But Anthias need to be fed often.
Yeah.
You know, because they're grazers. I mean, they constantly are picking on things in the water column. So with my food, I use a mixture of Reef Nutrition's TDO pellets in only extra small and smaller. So they have food as small as Reefroids, you know, the TDO. They make it in it looks like powder, you know. So I use all the sizes there, and then I mix that 50-50 with some Fleischmann's instant rise yeast. The yeast is an interesting product. It's in a lot of food already, but it's like crack to fish. Fish love it. I don't know why. But also your microfauna. All your pod population and everything. Because what happens is anything that doesn't get eaten dissolves into the water column. Corals will eat it. Your microfauna will eat it. Your pod population will explode. So that's something I do. And by doing it like that, you know, you're always have food in the water column. And it's not too much because I just did the NDOC test from Triton, and it came back that don't have very much nitrate in the tank.
Right. Okay.
You know, my nitrate is like 0.4.
So how much yeast is too much? I mean, presumably you just add
I do a
tiny amount.
50-50 mixture. So
we're talking we're talking baker's yeast here, or we're talking
yes,
different kind of just baker's yeast.
Dry,
we get from the supermarket, dry yeast. Yeah.
And to give you an idea that it's not abnormal, if anybody who uses Benepets, if you've ever used the Benepets product, when you put it in, you know those little pieces of white that you see floating around, there's little, that's yeast. That's yeast. I saw it when he showed me the video of it. I'm like, oh, there's yeast in it. And I picked up the carton, and dead center on the product list, on the ingredients list, is yeast. You know, because it's white when it gets into the water, and you'll see it.
Interesting.
Fish see it too.
We've got a comment here, Greg, from Gills Aquarium, who's saying, don't see many tanks like that anymore. Usually everyone's so quick to chop it up to make a quick buck. We often forget what corals look like as colonies.
Yes.
Dare I ask, what is your take on frag colony?
So
what's the size? What's Greg's measurement scale? Come on.
My measurement scale is I frag out of necessity.
Okay.
I prefer to frag out of necessity. And I'm at that point where it's a necessity. So I've been doing these little shows. I don't take very many corals, maybe 40 pieces to a show, and I'll sell at the show. And if worse comes to worse, I'll throw them in the calcium reactor. I kind of
what's a frag? What's the smallest that you think you should call a frag?
I think
an inch. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. You know, I mean, you know, there's some frags, I mean, that you can't really cut an inch reliably, you know, some of your tables and things like that. But, you know, I want people to be able to succeed with the coral more than anything.
Definitely.
So I think I know the answer to this, but what's the most you've paid for a frag then, Greg?
Ooh.
So typically,
sorry, I think we should ask the viewers to guess.
Yeah.
Okay, ask them to guess.
We'll let that run for 10 minutes. What do you think the most that Greg's ever paid for a frag? Just to give them a clue, is this an acro or an LPS, or I'm assuming it's an acro? It's a stick.
Yeah. Okay. Actually, it's the number is the same for
and how big was the frag, Greg? Sorry, an inch. We're saying that you bought.
Yeah, if I get an inch, yeah.
Okay, so this is the most you ever paid for a 1-inch Acropora frag.
Yes, the most I've ever paid.
Okay, we'll let that roll for 10 minutes. Okay.
Yeah.
And so, hang on, I'm just going to go into this a sec. So, if it's the most you've ever paid on 2 corals, 2 different types, you've definitely got a ceiling price, I would say, that you'll go up to, but not over. Is that right?
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Cool. $100 is one guess. $600 another. $800 another. Should we give it a few more minutes?
Yeah, give it a few more minutes. Free.
Some people know me.
$600. Wow. 900. Wow. Okay.
$900.
$250. $90. Keep them coming, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see what he comes up with.
So we can slightly steer this now because we haven't asked you, if you don't mind telling us, what's your day job? What do you do? You don't work in reefing, no?
No.
He sits in a taxi all day long doing Instagram videos.
So no. I work for the county. In I guess what could be called law enforcement.
Okay.
For an agency that would be considered law enforcement, and I do victim services. So I deal with restitution.
Well, after that, we've got a guess of $2,000.
Oh, we have. We've got some serious spenders here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So is your line of work well paid, Greg? That might help somebody.
Nah, it's government work, man. It's government.
Government work, right? Okay. Yeah. Well, maybe Tim might be right then.
Yeah. One of the things, when it comes to this hobby, like when I sell frags and stuff, a lot of that money just goes right back into the hobby.
Yeah.
It just puts back in. So that's how I've fund a lot of the hobby. Living here in California, though, we have insanely high electric rates.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So that's part that I can't really fund that. It is what it is.
Your sidekick's saying $80.
Yeah, he's wrong.
Oh,
higher or lower?
Oh dear.
So yeah.
Is your wife watching?
No, she's not watching, but she's sitting just right over there.
So she can't hear us then. So
she can hear us.
Oh, right.
But I don't keep that.
Hi, Mrs. Carroll.
She's waving.
So what's on your wish list? What's on your bucket list? What's your bucket list coral then, Greg?
Oh.
I would like a really, really nice I would like a really nice acantho.
Oh, okay.
Interesting. Is that like your kind of
I think that's what it's called. It's like a meat coral. I don't have I have a couple or maybe but I want one that's just spectacular, you know. But
they are the complete opposite of an acro, aren't they? They're
right. And they're
huge
they're so expensive that I can sit there and say I want one and never will buy one. So it is what it is. So but I think it's called an acantho. So I have something. I just don't know what it is in my 25-gallon tank. I showed that video, but I think it stopped with the price, and I think it's somewhere around $200 to $250. Is the most I've spent.
Right. Okay.
That's your answer, guys.
There's your answer.
And I still have it today. Yeah, someone did hit say 250.
Who got 250? I saw that in the comments.
Yeah.
Well done, Alex.
Yeah, I saw it come across.
250. Well done.
But typically for and I've spent that on an acro, purple monster, and Yeah, it died. So
I was just about to ask you if it was still alive, because everyone loses purple monsters.
Yeah, the LPS piece is still alive. And if you show my 25-gallon tank, you'll see it on the right-hand side.
You put me on the
I
spot.
think I did a top down.
I've only got the old tank with the airflow on it, and then the one we've talked about now. I don't think I've got another one. Let's have a look at what video 2 is.
I sent three emails to you.
Oh, you're putting me on the spot here, Greg. I'm known for not doing 2 things at once. Don't put me on the spot.
Okay. Oh well. So
I'll try and find it while we're talking.
It's a cool little piece. I think it's I don't know what it is. I don't know LPS corals all that well because I just never kept them until now. Yeah. So other than torches or chalice corals. But I'm having fun with this. I got this little innovative marine 25-gallon lagoon.
Yep. And
love this little tank. My previous 25-gallon, I had a Vitria. I don't know if you remember that company.
I do remember them. Italian.
Yeah. I had the Untico 56, and it sprung a leak finally. So,
oh dear.
So yeah.
So obviously you've got a really impressive tank there. Who inspired you, and what's the best tank that you've seen? What's the tank that you look at and just say, God, that's amazing?
Oh, yeah. Most of the coral tanks most of the displays at Worldwide Corals.
Yeah.
But that's not, I wouldn't say that's what inspired me. That they inspired me to go bare bottom, but those are tanks that I look at and I'm like, wow, that's incredible. Stuart Bertram's tank was one that I saw online, and I said, wow, I want my SPS tank to look like that. Everybody else knew about Dave Saxby.
Yeah.
Not many people dug through the channel to find Stuart's tank. They were just looking at Dave Saxby's. But Stuart's tank was amazing to me because he had the same vision that I had, which was a lower rockscape, where the fish could swim above and everything. And he liked Anthias. He had lots of Anthias in that tank and other small fish, because I like seeing that. So I would say, to me, that his tank was the perfect tank to me, and that was what I was striving for, was something like that. Of course, I couldn't go as big as he went. That would be a dream.
Well, Richard Colombo saying that he's died too, Greg. It's not the healthy purple monsters of the old days. Evening, Richard Colombo. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah. No. This was a purple monster from the old days when I spent $250 on it. That was an old tank.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
And what do you think to the names? What do you think to the names these days with acros, especially acros? What's your take on that? Do you think they're necessary?
I think for people who are selling corals, I think it is necessary. And the reason why is people want to know what they're buying, because when they go to sell it, they would like to say, "Hey, this is the coral this from this." Now, where the problem has muddied, when we first started naming corals, we would name corals and it was based on lineage.
Yeah.
They don't do that anymore. You got the coral farmers now over in Indo and everything. They got internet now. And they're like, "Oh, that coral looks like one we have here." And they sell it under the same name.
But even worse than that, in the UK, we've got people that sell, like we would call it, a shed seller, where people sell out the garage. I've got my garage and a frag tank in it, garage seller, thank you. And they would say, "This is a such and such," when it's not, and you can just tell it isn't. And
but even if you can't tell it isn't, even if they look alike, if they have lineage to them, you can't say it's the same coral. So just come up with your own name. Be creative. I just don't. Yeah, it doesn't matter. The name doesn't matter to me. But some people, they just want a name because they want to say, "Hey, what is this?" You know, I named an
and I think we've also got to admit that we've all fallen foul of the words ultra.
Yep.
Rainbow.
Rainbow, rainbow, ultra.
Yep.
You know, all those kind of words that people have used.
You're absolutely right. And that's the bigger problem is when you have someone who won't buy a coral because it doesn't have a name.
Yeah.
And I've seen that. It doesn't happen so much with me because when I go to a show, I try to make sure that my corals are some of the best looking corals there. So when they come and say, "Oh, what's the name of this one?" I'm like, "I don't know. Do you want
some of the comments make me laugh here because I can't pretend I've not fallen foul to buying something because of the name. I have done. But I mean, we've got Wakefield Reef here. We talked about this all the time. But we have a barbecue here at my house every year, and this gentleman had he drank a full bottle of rum one particular day. It was Malibu rum. I don't know if you know Malibu in America, but anyway.
Yes.
Christian at Signature Frags, they thought it would be very fitting to name an acropora after Tim, so it's called the Malibu Warrior, and that's why. There you go. Rainbow Ultra.
That's a lot of times that's how corals get. You know, that's a story that gets them their name and whatnot. You know, I named a
bit of nostalgia. Yeah,
Fabia after my one daughter. Called it the Mia's Pot of Gold. And years later, we went to Bulk Reef Supply, and we're touring Bulk Reef Supply with Ryan, and I see the coral in a guy's tank, and I'm like, "Hey, you know, what's that coral?" He's all, "Oh, the Maya's Pot of Gold."
Wow.
No way.
And I said, "How do you say your name?" He's all, "Mia." And he looks at me. He's like, "You're Greg Carroll." You know, it was kind of funny. So
that's quality. That's quality.
It was just he was pronouncing it wrong, but you know, that's all right. But it was cool to get to see it. I named another chalice coral after my other daughter Jada, called it the Jada's watermelon. You know, and we actually got that one back. I'm still trying to get the Mia's Pot of Gold. Just got to hook up with the guy who has it. But
what about the Greg C?
Well, there's a lot of those. There's the Ultimate F-Low. There's the Ultimate Blue Stag, Acroberry. Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot that originated from my tank, my original old tank. So yeah, it's just you know, most people were calling him the Tyree this and the Tyree that because I actually was living 10 minutes from Steve Tyree. And he heard about me, and he came over and wanted to make a bunch of my corals limited editions back then. So
nice. So I've got a couple of questions, Greg, that people asked me earlier to throw up. I've got a bit of a banner section here, so apologies if they're not in any particular order. So a couple of questions that people asked me to ask you this evening. We've got lighting. So what's your take on lighting? White or blues? Do you have a certain schedule that you prefer to run on a tank?
So I would say to a spectrometer, I use blue light. So my white period of light is AB plus because the Radion Gen 5 and Gen 6, the Radion blues are AB plus when they're running at 100%.
Yep.
So it's all colors at 100%. I start off the day at 8:30 in the morning, and the lights shut down at 10:30 at night. So it's a 14-hour
schedule.
Schedule, and you know, it shifts at 6 p.m. to all the whites shut off. So it's more of a blue after 6 p.m.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank
now
you.
I have recently been playing around because you know there was a lot of talk about the bolus method.
Yeah. Fauna one. Yeah.
And you know how magical of a method it is. So I wanted to see if I could get similar results from that method So what I did is I adjusted the first 2 hours of my schedule, light
So
schedule.
in ramp up.
I bumped it up to
Bumped it up.
rapidly increased 2 hours. And I will say, yes, the alkalinity dropped in that first 2 hours.
Right. Okay.
It was a drop. And because I have a controller, it was a drop that I could see. And I test my alk every 4 hours. So it was a drop that I could noticeably see in that first period of the light cycle that wasn't there before.
Right,
So
okay.
if you could just summarize what the bolus method is, then I've heard of it. I haven't really looked into it. So is this something to do with adding all your alkalinity at once in the morning?
What they say is dump all your alkalinity at once, and
before the ramp up.
It magically keeps the alkalinity fairly stable throughout the entire day. And they have various ways of explaining how it does it. I don't think there's any magic to it. I think there's two things going on. We know that you get increased growth if you increase par. That's not magic, okay? We also know that you get increased growth from high alkalinity. I don't care what the bicarb stuff is, any of that. I will tell you that my alk demand dropped significantly in that first 2 hours when I turned my lights up an extra 20%. It's noticeable. So it's happening. So you're starting off the day with a higher alkalinity. Of course, your tester didn't notice it because you dosed probably after your tester went off.
Yeah.
You hit it with a whole lot of light. The corals consume that alkalinity quickly. So you don't get you to the meter 4 hours later when it tests again. You don't see another spike. It's not magic. It's not magic. It works, but it's not magic. And I don't, and I think it works with other methods too. It's the bicarb. I think that's personally, I think it's a crock.
Okay. Well, that brings me on to the next question.
Because we know that corals grow more with more light. We know that corals grow more with higher alkalinity. We know corals grow more with higher pH. Those three things can all happen. And if you throw all three at it, it should grow better, right? You would think.
Theory, yeah, you'd think in theory, yeah.
You've done all the things that it likes. Why wouldn't it grow faster?
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
So talking about light then, where do you sit in terms of par? Do you measure?
So at the top where you see that big table, that one's getting about 700, 750.
Quite high.
So yeah, the one on the left-hand side. At the very bottom of the tank, and mind you, all the way across, whether it's in the corner or whether it's in just at the bottom, even at the front of the tank, it's about 300 to 350.
Wow. And what are you using to measure?
A Apogee 510.
510. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
And do you think it's something? There's something very recently. I've been talking to a fellow reefer who's in the comments, Tim. Tim offers a sort of a local service where he'll go out and do a par readings. He's got the 510, same as I've got for people. Do you think it's something that reefers overlook these days? Do you think it's something that people should probably pay more attention to, especially when it comes to placing corals, perhaps knowing what their actual intensity is in the tank?
So, yes and no.
Okay.
I mean, you should know that you should use a par meter to make sure you have enough light. I think that's the bigger issue. And also, what is too much light? In that first 2 hours, my par, now that I've bumped it up 20%, the par is probably closer to 900.
It's a lot.
Right. But the coral hasn't gone into, what they call photo inhibition, because it's at the beginning of the day. So it can take it for a short period of time. It's when you start overlighting a coral after it's already got all the light it needed, that's when you're going to run into more problems, in my opinion.
Yeah, because the couple of lads in the comments to the video the other night, East Coast Reefer and Norfolk Reefer, and they were talking about one of the new bits of kits, the ITC. Is it Senna? I can't remember what it was.
Powerwise Pro.
Powerwise, thank you. Sorry, Jeremy. Yeah,
It's the Pro.
Pro. Thank you. So, how far do we go with light? Do you think, Greg? How far do we need? How much information is too much information these days? You're a gadget man.
So I have an opinion about, the spectrum.
Okay.
And this is what I'm going to say. This causes people to have some feelings.
Okay.
But
it's all healthy debate on a Friday evening. Come on.
Yeah. And you know me, I say what I say, and I'm not
say what you say. That's it.
Let's go out on a controversial one, Greg. Come on, hit us.
So people really get all up in arms about the spectrum. The corals that we keep are typically collected in waters 20 meters, in depth, especially the farmed corals, and whatnot. And the light down there, there's no red. There's not really any yellow. It's for the most part blue, maybe some green, because if you're in shallower water, that's a surf zone, which, those corals get white light. And they're also crazy looking, but it's a surf zone. It's dangerous to try to collect corals in the surf zone. So corals don't have legs. So for us to say, and we know corals can grow at all these different areas, how are we going to sit here and say, oh, well, this coral's got a better purr and all that stuff? Man, I'll tell you what, if a coral can grow there, that means it's converting the light into something that it likes. They have their ways of changing. That's why they fluoresce. It's more, corals protecting against certain lights they don't like and changing light into a more usable light. So it just filtered. I mean, as Farm Frags is saying, another one of my friends, the light is filtered out by the water, and the deeper you go, the more blue it is. So I personally believe that you can grow coral in in blue light, just like you can in white light, if you have enough of it, if you have enough par. And okay. AB plus, which is the common spectrum that people run when they run Ecotechs, on a spectrometer, it's pretty much all blue. It's not really a white light, even though to our eye it may look a little white. It's just because our eye is more sensitive to yellow and red and green, so it looks whiter, but it's blue. And my light spectrum is predominantly all blue. But with the Radion blues, when you turn down the whites, the par still stays up there, unlike the pros, because the pros don't have that many blue LEDs in comparison.
Yeah. I think if in doubt, run AB plus as well. It's proven 1,000 times, 10,000 times over, 100,000 times over. Yeah.
And which Radions do you run?
I've got 6s at the moment, but I've run everything from a Gen 1. So
pros or blues?
I've got the 4s in the garage, and they're on AB plus.
I've got both.
Got both. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I never recommend the pros to anybody because it's like you want to see your tank under blue light, right? So why would you turn it? Why would you want a disco feature anyway? Yeah.
I think that if you're going to run AB plus, like we just said, there is no point in buying pro because you're just not using the light to its full capacity.
You're not using all the light. So
yeah, definitely.
So
fire some more questions at you, Greg. So I'm conscious that Mrs. Carroll might be saying it's your turn to cook dinner tonight, so I'm going to get you in trouble. Reefing methodology. What's your preferred method? What would you say to somebody? This works. This is what you must do with a reef tank.
I can't say that there's anything you must do.
Okay.
So I have found people doing some crazy stuff that still worked. So I will tell you that corals don't have legs. They can adapt.
Right.
They can adapt. So, you just got to give them time. But they can adapt to a lot of different conditions. It's more about stability. One of the things I used to say on the forums, SPS equals stability promotes success. So I like
that.
That's
good.
Really,
I'm going to coin that one myself.
Yeah, that's really the key, I think, to
these are recorded, Jeremy.
The ocean is fairly stable, so that's really what they look for. And just find something that works for you. I personally, my filtration is always going to be centered around the biggest skimmer I can fit.
That's what I was going to mention. I mean, if I had to guess, you do keep it simple. Skimmer, perhaps a sock, like you say, no reactors, passive carbon, passive GFO if you need it. That's what I was going to ask you. What's your phosphate control method? Is it GFO or is it
GFO? Okay. But for the most part, skimmer. There's a little bit of carbon dosing going on in my aquarium because the alkalinity tester, the reagent is dumped back into the tank. So it's an acid, so it gets a small carbon dose, which also may be helping keep the nutrients low. I just did the NDOC test. I think it tested my nitrate was 0.4. Phosphates usually down around 0.02 or anywhere from. I'm sorry. It can be. I typically like to have it below 0.1, as long as it's below 0.1.
Me too.
But sometimes it's gotten a little high. Because I don't always run GFO. I don't always run carbon. It's just as needed.
It sounds like your nitrate's very low, though. Did you say
nitrate's
4?
Always very low. 0.4.
0.4. That's what I thought you said. That's incredibly low, but by modern standards, perhaps.
Yeah, people. So that's why, and this is why I say, you have a lot of people that say, oh, well, corals can handle more light if you have higher nutrients, but I don't. I don't have high nutrients, and I still run high light. There's so many different ways to run a tank that are successful. I can't point to one that is successful better than the other. It's just
But you don't think having low nitrates and having high light is telling you that things are getting consumed, though?
So I feel that having low nitrates and phosphates is a good problem to have. Reason being,
easy to add than it is to take out.
And I personally feel that corals and the inhabitants in your reef are going to get more out of food than they're ever going to get out of you dosing those chemicals, adding extra phosphate or adding extra nitrate. They'd much rather eat food, I would think. I know me, I would. I didn't get like this from not eating.
So your current setup at the minute is calcium reactor, then, just to go back to the methodology.
Yes.
So calcium reactor, okay.
Calcium
and Kalkwasser, or?
So I did, for the most part, run Kalkwasser. I have recently, in the last 6 months, stopped.
Okay.
What happened is I used to use the Tunzi calc reactor, just running all my auto top off through it.
Yeah.
I know lots of people like to run Kalkwasser with, a specific amount every day. But even if I run all my ATO through it, it's never going to make up for what those alk monsters of corals will consume. So I was running all of it through it. I broke the nipple off of the calc reactor, and I just never fixed it. And so I have not noticed any change in my pH.
Oh, really? Right, okay.
pH is still low because, you know what? That's something I do that's a little different from everyone else. My calcium reactor only runs while the lights are on.
Okay.
Or rather, the CO2 to it only goes. So at night,
Yeah,
I don't
but
run any CO2 to the calcium reactor.
Yeah, I did that. So I would normally run the calcrusher on the reverse photo cycle so that it literally bumped it during the night when the lights were off.
Yeah, that would have been
the calcium reactor when the lights were on.
for me to do that, but I didn't.
That's what I used to do. Yeah, that's what I do. Yeah.
So I did do that. The tank, it gets to about 7.9 at night and only about 8.1 during the day, because I run my, because I'm running a shorter period, a 14-hour period of the calcium reactor, I have to run it down at about 6.3.
Right. Okay.
And it's a full stream.
Right.
It's not restricted at all. Just as fast as the water goes in, it comes out. And, so there's a lot of CO2 going into the water during the day, but I have such a photo period that it still rises the pH to about 8.1. So that is also dependent on the alkalinity reading. So the calcium reactor is also tied to my hydros controller. So if the alkalinity gets above 9.3, it shuts off the CO2 for the next 4 hours.
So what did you say you fed your corals on then? Obviously, it's yeast and the really small TDO for the Antheas.
Really TDO. Also, but also we'll feed the corals, the smallest ones.
Well, that leads me on to another question. Sorry, Greg and Jeremy, that other people were asking me to ask you. Where do you stand on live plankton, phyto, live foods with these systems?
I think live phyto is good. I just don't think it's necessary. I mean, the yeast is a suitable replacement for a food that's of that size that corals can consume and microfauna can consume. But phyto, I like phyto. I just can't do it. I can't get myself to do it at a consistent rate. I'm just bad with stuff like that. You ask me to dose something on my own at a consistent rate, it's just not going to happen.
Is it something that the American reef scene, did hobbyists grow or cultivate or harvest their own sort of food? Because in the UK, it's something, it's something that a lot of the people in the hobby UK try and do to save money, I suppose, because of the cost of electric. So if you can offset some of the cost of the hobby by, I suppose, supplementing it yourself a little bit, it helps with the overall upkeep of the system.
Yeah, I mean, there's people that I know here that do that, but I know a lot of people who just stopped and they still were just as good of reefers as they were without doing that stuff. I had a friend who used to culture his own rotifers, phyto, all that stuff, and he was feeding. He had an outdoor coral farm, and now he doesn't do any of that. He feeds yeast, and all he feeds is yeast and nori.
Right.
That's all he feeds. Okay. And his coral farm has not changed. It still looks spectacular as always.
Right, next question then, because I'm conscious we're wrapping up. We're taking up 2 hours of your time. Thank you again so much for coming on.
Need, man.
Next question we've got for you. ICP testing then. What are your thoughts regarding ICPs?
So I do monthly ICP test.
And who do you use? Sorry?
I use Triton.
Okay.
The reason I can tell you the reason I use Triton is I feel they're the most open company as far as telling you how they do things. The fact that they'll tell you how often they calibrate, any technical questions. I mean, Eshon's now doing live streams on Instagram every week, and people can just ask any question and he'll answer it. I just don't think there's any company out there that's given that kind of information about it. And they were first. They were really the first guys commercially offering ICP tests. So they have a wealth of knowledge. I know there's other companies out there that are doing it, but I believe in Triton. So I've been using Triton, as long as I've been doing ICP tests, and still doing it today.
Never had an ICP that you've questioned?
Huh?
Never had an ICP that you've questioned?
No.
Okay.
No. I haven't. And I mean, my tank doesn't vary that much, the ICP results, typically, if I'm going to have something that tested high, it's going to be phosphate. My phosphate creeped up a little bit, okay, so that next month I'll throw in some GFO. But for the most part, I've gotten pretty consistent results. And knowing Ishan's processes, if he sees something that looks odd, he will contact the lab and have them rerun the B sample. That's just, it's common practice, because he just kind of feels, okay, maybe there was some interference. I know of other ICP companies that just, hey, this is what it said, and this is what it is, But he just, from experience, says, nah, something might be wrong. So let's make sure before we give this person this crazy test result. So that's part of why I say I trust in Triton, because he's open and honest and will say that.
So the obvious question then is, water change or no water change?
Oh, Jeremy.
Did I steal it off you? My final question.
The water changes. Ain't nothing wrong with it.
Is the right answer. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
There is, water changes are an instant reset. I tell people,
if you tell it is right,
all the time, even though I do ICP tests and I rarely do much water changes, I will tell you, if there's something going on in your tank, don't even think of sending an ICP test and waiting on the results to act. Send in the ICP test. Do some water changes. Because it's the best reset you can do.
Yeah.
Is the right answer. So which salt do you use then?
So I typically use Brightwell.
Okay.
But I'm sponsored by Brightwell. But I really there's other salts I like as well. I like regular old Instant Ocean. I like Red Sea. I like Nios. I really like the Nios salt.
We're hearing good things about it in the UK. Everyone I speak to is saying good things about the new.
I've started using it in the last couple of months.
The problem is it got really popular here in the US, and it was out of stock for months.
Yeah,
we couldn't get it for months.
I've had corals that were doing okay, that since I've started using it are doing very well, and I've noticed it. Yeah. So. Last question I've got for you, Greg, and thank you again. I keep saying this, taking up your time on a Friday afternoon. Afternoon for you, sorry. Yeah.
And it's a holiday.
Do you feel the hobby is growing or diminishing in the States?
So I feel the hobby has grown.
Okay.
And I think that the best thing the hobby could have ever hoped for was COVID.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. You coop up people in their house, they're going to take up hobbies that are indoors in their house. And that happened. And are we growing as compared to the way we were growing during COVID? Absolutely not. But a lot of people got in the hobby. And with this hobby, this is one of those things that the more people who are exposed, the more people inspire others. So it's a slow growing hobby, but that was a big shot in the arm. And you know, we're gonna benefit off of that for a while, but it's not going to be that feverish growth that we used to have. Plus, the hobby, people are more successful in the hobby, so I think people stay in the hobby a little longer than they used to. I would, you know, it used to always be about 18 months, but now it's gone down a little less right now.
You have 25 events for today until
Oh, got a busy day, Greg.
And on that note,
I got
On
Ryan,
that note,
Ryan from BRS is also calling, so it's
we should have put him on loudspeaker. That'd have been entertaining. Just quickly before we wrap up, just quickly, I always ask people that have made the effort to join in from overseas to ask us, not that you really want to, but we are trying in the UK. Is there anything that you would like to ask us UK reefers about what we do, what we buy, what we get, what we've got, that maybe you guys in the US don't know or don't have? Anything you want to ask us? Any questions?
You know, not really. I mean, I got a lot of friends. I mean, I got Woody, and I mean, and you know, those guys.
If we have a show in the UK, you're going to come over?
Yeah, no. No, I got 4 shows a year that I have to do here. Yeah, no, I don't think so.
Reefer
weather's
Palooza
lovely.
UK.
Huh?
Reefer Palooza UK.
Yeah.
Well,
UK.
Bring an umbrella.
That would be cool. It is in the back of our minds. The problem is, you know, a lot of our support is live goods sellers, and they can't come.
Yeah.
So it's hard. It's hard because we don't know the area. So you know, but you never know. You never know. Someday, I'll probably come to the UK at some point in time, because it's, you know, we want to travel and come to Europe, but
do it.
It's you know, let's just say I have been known to plan vacations around aquarium shows.
Oh, okay.
Is there any other type of vacation?
No.
Good answer. Okay.
Cool.
Well, listen, Greg, thank you ever so much for giving up 2 hours of your afternoon. I really
Thanks,
do
Greg.
appreciate it. And thank you very much to Mrs. C for letting you do that in the background. I hope you have a very nice...
Thanks, Mrs. Carroll.
Thank Mrs. Carroll. Thank you very much. Jeremy, thanks for coming on with the news. It's been emotional as ever. Thanks for bringing that on. And Greg, it would be great to keep in touch with you if you could come back on in the not too distant future. That would be much appreciated. By the looks of it, the viewers have really appreciated your input today. Thank you.
Yeah,
in your content.
And you know, it's not a big deal. If you guys ever want me back on, I'm easy.
That'll be cool.
Easy to get on. Mainly because you guys do your show on Friday, and I have every other Friday off. So
there you go.
There we go.
Half of the year,
match made in heaven. Thank you very much.
It is.
It'd be great.
But
we'll try and get a few other. We'll try and get a few other special guests on as well that can probably have a little bit more of a controversial, you know, discussion. Maybe.
I'm always down for a good fight.
Cool. All right. Well, you enjoy the rest of the afternoon. Everybody in the audience, thank you ever so much for joining us, ladies and gentlemen. Enjoy the rest of your Friday night. What's left? Have a cracking weekend, and we will see you on Sunday for another Sunday morning live stream. Take care, everybody.
Cheers, everyone.
Have a good
Take
Friday.
care, everybody.
Bye-bye.